I begin with a reading which is likely familiar to some of you from the book Walden by Henry David Thoreau. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. I did not wish to live what was not life. Living is so dear, nor did I wish to practice resignation unless it was quite necessary. I wanted to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life, to live so sturdily and Spartan-like as to put to rout all that was not life, to cut a broad swath and shave close, to drive life into a corner and reduce it to its lowest terms. And if it proved to be mean, why then to get the whole and genuine meanness of it and publish its meanness to the world? Or if it were sublime, to know it by experience and be able to give a true account of it in my next excursion. So ends the reading. I did not wish to live what was not life. Living is so dear. Nor did I wish to practice resignation. I wished to live deliberately. These words are from Henry David Thoreau, the mid-19th century transcendentalist, whose revolutionary, ecological, conscientious, and spiritually open approach deeply influenced the development of Unitarian Universalist theology and perspectives. Thoreau's words speak to me in these times of societal upheaval, in my own discernment of my life path as it continues to unfold. What might it look like? What might it feel like to live deliberately, to live in conscious awareness and intention, to live in a way that is fully awake and alive? At this time of Easter and Passover, as the earth awakens from winter's sleep into the tumultuous, glorious, unpredictable season of spring, how do we awaken into living what is really life? How might we respond to the call into abundant life, awakening from our dreaming? How might we emerge from the shadows into the bright promise of the world? And so I reflect on the ancient story of Passover and the Exodus. The Jewish people, having originally been welcomed to live in Egypt as settlers, only to be enslaved to labor for the Pharaoh generations later, were offered an opportunity that included a difficult choice: to remain in the painful but relatively secure state of slavery, or to accept the invitation to awaken, to pack up, to risk leaving their homes on short notice to follow the prophet Moses across the sea and into the desert. They embarked on this dangerous journey in hopes of finding freedom in a new homeland that was nothing more than a promise, with almost no information about the travel arrangements, which were minimal, or the destination. The Jewish holy time of Passover celebrates that courageous and very intentional choice to awaken from the slumber of captivity, to move out beyond what was known, risking everything, to follow a promise of affirmation and freedom in a new place, a new way of being, to live deliberately in the world of their choosing. And so I reflect also on the multi-layered meaning of the Easter story in the Christian tradition. Centuries after their exodus from Egypt, the Jewish people found themselves once again living under oppression, this time by the Roman Empire's occupation of Israel. The Jews suffered in their own land under the heavy hand of Roman colonialism, including financial exploitation, military domination, and the desecration of their holiest sites. In the midst of this suffering, a new prophet arose among the Jewish people, a prophet who brought lessons of love and inclusion of all people, inviting the Jewish people to awaken to a new humanity beyond the categories of race and national origin. The prophet Jesus offered not a path of escape, as Moses had, but rather a new vision of society, a rebirth into a new way of living. He attracted a group of faithful followers, And after his execution, those followers became intentional, accepting the Great Commission to share far and wide these new teachings about living deliberately into a new promise. They awoke to the call, rose up, and at great personal risk, went out to invite all people into this new way of living, spreading the lessons across the adjoining lands by teaching and example. The Jews in the Exodus story made a choice to awaken from captivity, to hear and respond to the invitation from their God to follow Moses, taking the essential risk to abandon the relative safety of their homes, pursued by Pharaoh's armies, venturing into the desert in search of a new life that had been promised. They risked everything to awaken into possibility. The Jews who chose to follow the prophet Jesus also risked their safety, their livelihoods, their very lives to move fully into a new way of relating to the world, a new way of living. They made an intentional choice to awaken from the tribal divisions of their heritage and the colonial domination of the Roman Empire, to set aside their old prejudices and traditions. They risked everything to awaken into possibility. So I ask myself, what am I willing to risk to awaken into possibility in my own life, in my ministry, in my relationships, in my service to the world? Reverend Sarah York writes of this awakening in her reflection, Rolling Away the Stone. In the tomb of the soul, we carry secret yearnings, pains, frustrations, loneliness, fears, regrets, worries. In the tomb of the soul, we take refuge from the world and its heaviness. In the tomb of the soul, we wrap ourselves in the security of darkness. Sometimes this is a comfort. Sometimes it is an escape. Sometimes it prepares us for experience. Sometimes it insulates us from life. Sometimes this tomb life gives us time to feel the pain of the world and reach out to heal others. Sometimes it numbs us and locks us up with our own concerns. In this season, when light and dark balance the day, we seek balance for ourselves. Grateful for the darkness that has nourished us, we push away the stone and invite the light to awaken us to the possibilities within us and among us, possibilities for new life in ourselves and the world. So ends the reading. Grateful for the darkness that has nourished us, we awaken to the possibilities for new life in ourselves and in our world. I've come to understand there's no one way to live deliberately, to live with intention in the world. As our lives are all unique, so also are our places of nourishing darkness, and so also are our awakenings into what we might become. I believe we all have hidden within us the promise of our possibility as I return again and again to one of nature's most powerful lessons of rising into a new beginning, the process of metamorphosis. The Greek word metamorphosis means transformation or a change in shape, a term that is often used to describe the process that a caterpillar goes through in becoming a butterfly. After the caterpillar emerges from the egg, it grows in size and strength, but it's still a caterpillar, crawling along branches and leaves, living a satisfying sort of caterpillar life. Even so, we as humans in the world may find great satisfaction in simply living day to day with the life we have created and the choices we have made. But sometimes in our lives, we may choose with intention to awaken into something new, to move deliberately into transformation. For the caterpillar, it's an automatic process as they follow internal biological instructions that the time for transformation has come. The caterpillar spins a case called a chrysalis that completely encloses it. We can think of the chrysalis as a sort of tomb of the soul, creating a safe space for deep change. Within the chrysalis, the creature that is no longer caterpillar but not yet butterfly embarks on a radical process of transformation. The deep change of metamorphosis can occur because the caterpillar almost completely dissolves in the chrysalis, leaving only the few vital butterfly cells that have been buried deep within the caterpillar from the first moments of its life. The rest of the caterpillar simply dissolves and slides away. It's described as becoming goo, so that these butterfly cells can take over and grow a new creature that was hidden within the caterpillar all the time, a new life beginning from the remnants of the old. The caterpillar is genetically programmed for transformation, but we humans have the sometimes challenging gift of intentionality, the gift and burden of free choice. As did those who lived the stories of Passover and Easter, we may choose to awaken into intentionality and accept the challenge of a transformative experience, to leave behind who we have been, taking the risk to become something new with minimal travel arrangements, something not yet known, seeking a new freedom, a new way of being in the world. When the caterpillar becomes a butterfly, yes, it appears as a radical transformation. But in truth, the butterfly cells were there all along, hidden deep within the caterpillar. So the metamorphosis simply activated its true butterfly nature to manifest and emerge into the world. Even so, the cells for our own transformation lie dormant until we are ready to awaken, to release who we have been, to push away the stone deliberately and with our attention, to emerge into the light, spread our wings and rise into flight on the breath of our new beginning. The key to our awakening into transformation turns on our intentional attention to those hidden cells of possibility buried deep within our hearts and minds. I'm in a transitional time in my own life, awakening to new possibilities, embarking on an intentional, deliberate shift toward a new way of being, staying open to discover the shape that might take. Unlike Thoreau, I'm not taking myself off to a tiny cabin in the woods, although sometimes that sounds pretty attractive. But if we are to live deliberately, intentionally, accessing those deeply hidden cells may be the first step. And so I invite you to ask, as I'm asking in my own life, what is the potential that rests beneath my awareness, deep within the tomb of my soul, within the chrysalis of my heart, the quiet messages stirring in my mind? I recently encountered a question that challenged me to seek out those deep and essential cells of possibility within myself. I was asked, if you were doing what you really want to do, what would you be doing? What would I be doing if I were free of all external expectations, of all my socially programmed responses? If I were doing what I really want to do? As I find myself in the middle of yet another life decade, this time offers the opportunity to explore the potential for transformation as I remain open to that question and open to possibility. This is a time to open my awareness to emerging possibilities of transition, to explore the experience of my own chrysalis, to awaken deliberately and with courage and intention into a new way of being. The caterpillar has the butterfly cells in its body, but what are the essential cells of transformation in our own human systems? I think those cells are what is often called our sense of purpose, the mission that inspires our commitment, and the vision of possibility for our lives. Performance consultant Jim Lair teaches that at the heart of our unfolding life story, there lies a sense of purpose and possibility, a vision and a promise, the deeply embedded source generating our warmth and light. When we are in touch with that inner source, we find the power that weaves the truth of our lives. That core element is what gives power and direction to our lives. When we enter a space of transformation, we may release our old caterpillar cells and invite the cells of purpose, the mission and vision of our lives, to lift us into a new way of being. And so this is a time to ask, how does that invitation into possibility look for you? Is the world calling you to leave behind your familiar home, to cross a sea and journey into the desert? Are you called to take up a new way of living centered in the power of love and to bring the message and the service of hope into this troubled world? Are you ready to put a new bumper sticker on your car? How does it look for me? How does it look for any one of us? And how does it look for people joined into a community with the possibilities for a collective awakening into something new? In the story we told earlier, Sam the squirrel wanted to be deliberate and intentional about a new way of being, changing his patterns of reactivity into processes of choice. And as he said, new things are scary, but his burrow companions were with him, and with the help of his friends, it still felt new, but it no longer felt impossible. That is the transformative power of community. I serve Unitarian Universalist congregations because I believe in the power of our faith communities, not only to support our individual processes of transformation, but also their openness to transformation as communities, connected by the potent cells of shared mission and vision. I really love the fact that the core values of our faith specifically include transformation, defined as our covenant to collectively transform and grow, spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect. We're not seeking perfection, but rather to live deliberately in community, open always to emerging possibilities in the power of love. That is why we are here, and we create the spaces for transformation in everything we do. For today, I leave us with the questions and the open invitation into possibility as the world awakens to the promise of spring, because, as Reverend Richard Gilbert has written, a tomb is no place to stay. Here is his poem. A tomb is no place to stay, be it a cave in the Judean hills or the dark cavern of the spirit. A tomb is no place to stay when fresh grass rolls away the stone of winter cold and valiant flowers burst their way to warmth and light. A tomb is no place to stay when each morning announces our reprieve and we know that we are granted yet another day of living. A tomb is no place to stay when life laughs a welcome to hearts that have been away too long. Blessed be.